teacher's assistant Michelle Ayana Johnson is suing music producers Terrence Ireland and Jason Pittman for the return of her music and sexual harassment. Terrence and Jason claim the music is theirs to keep.
Yes, case number 198 on the calendar in the matter of Johnson versus Ireland Pittman. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Which one is Ireland? Good, so I know where we are. Ms. Johnson, it is your claim that you paid the defendants to produce a music demo for you.
That is correct.
And you paid them, and they didn't deliver what was promised.
That
Now, I don't quite understand all of the technical stuff that you put in here. But Mr. Ireland and Mr. Pittman say that you never fully paid, that you don't get some sort of a master tape. This is going to get very complicated. And since you didn't fully pay them, you got everything that you're entitled to. Is that close enough?
That's very close.
So, how did you find them, and what was this contract that you entered into?
I worked with Terrence Ireland at a group home. I was a teacher's assistant, and he listened to my demo that
So you had a demo?
Yes, I had a demo with another producer. And Terrence let me know that he also was a producer and that I should let him listen to my music. He then listened to it and said that he would like to work with me. He invited me down to his studio to meet his cousin Jason in hopes that we would be able to work together.
Go ahead.
As of right now, I am the copyright owner and the author of the lyrics and the melody to the 5 songs that I created with the defendants from November 2003 up until May of 2004. Now, there is no written contract, only a verbal agreement which states a work-for-hire situation in which I pay a flat fee of $500 per song to the defendants and also have the use of their studio and their musical backings. They have no claim to copyright, they have no claim to royalties, and they have no claim to my master. Now,
How do I know that?
Say again?
How do I know that?
Because I created the songs. I also have the copyright material.
Why don't you have a contract?
He told me that I did not need a contract, that all I would need to do is give him $250 up front and $250 in the end for the songs.
Doesn't sound very professional to me, Miss Johnson.
No, which is why I'm no longer wanting their services. That is correct. They raised the price of the 6th song, which I started creating. This here is a musical director of the Grammys and of the Turtles. He also listened to my demo and told me also that it is an unfinished project. And in order for me to finish my project with another producer, they would need my digital formatted copy or master of my music in order to help me. If you'd like to...
Are you following all of this?
Sure.
Why don't you explain it to me?
Okay. She paid them to produce her stuff. They have her master.
Right.
This guy here is telling her that she needs the digital master in order for another producer to help finish out her demo.
How much did you pay them all together?
I paid them $2,500 for the 5 songs.
You have proof that you paid them $2,500?
I have proof for the 3 songs that I created. They're holding the other 2 receipts.
But you paid them in cash?
Yes, that is correct.
How much did she pay you?
She paid us all together. Let's see here. 500, 1,000, 1,500. Let's see. 17, 18, 19. $1,900, Your Honor. Sorry, I didn't have it all added up, but I do have all the receipts.
He says you pay him $1,900.
That is incorrect.
Show me proof that you paid him $25.
I don't have proof. They're keeping the other 2 receipts.
Well, how am I supposed to tell? He says you gave him $1,900.
Well, I have a disc of the 5 songs that I created with all 5 songs on them. They would not hand these songs over to me unless I had paid for the songs in which I created.
Well, what is it that you want from them? A master?
I want the master, the digital file that they hold in their possession, and also funds to finish my project. My project is not mixed nor mastered.
So you want them to give you what they got so far, plus give you more money?
Plus give me the money in order to finish. I also have to do that.
I gotta do that.
I have to finish.
Well, right now, finish it.
Right now, the project is incomplete. On
then
May
find
24th,
somebody to complete it.
Well, on May 24th, Jason sexually harassed me and told me that he works for music and that he could get me a deal if only I slept with him.
That was a very nasty thing for him to say. If you said that, that was a very nasty thing for you to say. Let's move on.
I have the 5 songs in which I created. They're withholding the other 2 receipts from me for sexual favors.
Now I don't get it.
What?
Now I don't get it.
I didn't get it either. Still don't get it. I want to get beyond this sexual harassment business that you tacked on to this. You want your master.
I want my master, and I want the funds that I need in order to finish the project.
They're not going to pay you that, Miss Johnson.
Well, that's why I'm here.
Good. Well, that's not going to... Listen to me.
No.
That's not going to happen. Okay, Mr. Pittman, listen to me very carefully, sir. These are her songs, correct?
No.
They're not her lyrics?
No.
They're not her music?
No.
Whose are they?
Ours.
You're telling me that you wrote the music?
Exactly.
Really?
Right.
Who wrote the lyrics?
I did. And Terry did. She actually went out and copywrote the music.
Behind our back.
Behind our backs.
Without our consent.
You don't know anything about that, right, sir?
No.
Because she says she wrote the music. They say they wrote the music.
She wrote the lyric and the melody for the songs.
How do you know?
She told me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Johnson claims music producers Terrence Ireland and Jason Pittman owe for the return of her music and for sexual harassment.
Now, you don't know who wrote the music. She says she wrote the music. They say they wrote the music.
May I say something, please, about that?
Sure.
There's two elements to a song. The lyric and the melody is the copyrightable item.
Yes.
You cannot copyright an arrangement.
No, I understand that.
Okay, so
that I understand.
She claims to me
that
and
she
I believe
wrote.
her,
That,
the lyric
I don't
and
care
the
what you
melody.
believe. What you believe is irrelevant to me. She said to you, I wrote the lyrics and the melody.
Yes.
He says that he wrote the lyrics.
Lyric and melody. Okay.
I want to see the sheet music when it was written. Let me see. Don't you have that? Somebody have that?
I have the copy written with the Library of Congress that I submitted.
When?
On March of this year, 2004.
Well, when did you record it?
I recorded it from November of 2003.
Well, then what difference does it make if you sent to the Library of Congress something after you made the recordings?
Because I was determined that I was finished working with him.
Listen to me. If you write something, and if you know, Ms. Johnson, that what you can do in order to solidify your position as the author of a piece of music, that you copyright it and you sent it to the Library of Congress, why didn't you send it before you recorded it?
Because when the defendants had the beats, I then wrote the music to the beats, so I didn't have the words when I came to the studio.
Just a second. When you say that they wrote the beats is a melody.
No, the guitar and the instruments. I wrote the way the song was supposed to be arranged.
Nobody is ever going to be able to tell what happened here because the three of you, semi-professionals, don't have a contract. And I'm not going to be able to tell who came in with the music and who didn't. You copyrighted something, but you copywrote it after you recorded it. So if you write the words to music and you want to copyright the words that you wrote to music, you copyright them by sending them into the Library of Congress. You did it after you recorded them.
Well, I was still recording. This shows in March. This date here shows the March
Listen to me, you said you started in November.
I started with them in November.
Right, you started with them in November.
Right.
Ms. Johnson.
And it took about a month and a half to finish a song.
I cannot tell who wrote this music.
Well, I'm the only one that has the copywritten information.
And I'm telling you that was a bit of slick maneuvering because you already had recorded them. You already in March decided not to work with them anymore. So you said, bet you they didn't copyright it. So you sent in your copyright to the Library of Congress. And I'm telling you, if you were operating in good faith, you would have done it before since you knew how to do it.
Amen.
Listen, when somebody wants to copyright an idea, they don't copyright the idea after they've already let it out of the bag. They do it beforehand.
Well, Andy Kahn heard my music, and he told me also that my project was not finished. But after the fifth
Ms. Johnson,
song...
I can't help you, my dear. Can't help you. Case is dismissed. That's what you have. You have 2 demos.
Parties are excused. You may step out. All parties in the matter of Denton versus Clevenger, step forward, please.
Computer analyst Julia Denton is suing her sister-in-law, student Patricia Clevenger, for the cost of a '96 Toyota RAV4. Julia says Patricia's husband totaled the vehicle.
Mrs. Denton, is this your brother?
Yes.
And this is your sister-in-law?
Yes.
According to your complaint, several years ago, your husband passed away.
Yes.
You say it was in 2001.
That's correct.
When he passed away, one of the things he had was an automobile that was in his name. You had a car, and you agreed to, at that time, let your brother and your sister-in-law use that car.
Correct.
Until the estate was settled, and with the understanding that when it was settled, you would sell them the car. Was that your agreement?
Well, we actually didn't make that agreement. When I loaned them the car to begin with, we didn't make that agreement. It took a long time for the estate to be settled. It wasn't settled until the end of May of 2004. As it got closer to that date, then we started talking about selling them the car. That was my intention, to either sell it to another party or sell it to them if they were still interested in buying it.
Once the estate was settled?
Right, because I was not able to sell any of the assets. He did not have a will, and I was the administrator of his estate. Right.
Okay. Now, you gave them the car to use from 2002, according to your complaint, until 2004. Now, my question to you is, in whose name was the car titled in 2004?
The title was in my late husband's name until after the accident.
Okay. Now, according to you, you insured the car up until May or June of 2004.
Correct.
And then sometime in May or June, you found out that you had started to insure the car.
I did insure the car. After,
when?
In May, after her mother told me that she was no longer carrying insurance on the car.
Okay, so you started to carry insurance
Yes.
on the car, even though you had no insurable interest in the car.
At that point, we felt like the car had been given to us. We had already tried to return the car several times. She said she had no use for the car.
Excuse me, Your Honor, that's a
Just a
lie.
minute, I'll get there. And at some point, about a month or so later, your husband had an accident with the car and it was totaled.
Yes.
And you got a check for how much?
$4,687.
Which you feel rightfully belongs to you.
Correct.
And you feel none of that belongs to her because it was your insurance policy.
Correct.
What do you think?
She gave us the car.
Stand up.
She gave us the car 3 years ago. We offered to give it back to her several times. She didn't want the car back. She had 2 cars and 1 driver.
Yes.
She had a Corvette.
Well, what did you say? I'm just curious. What did you say when you offered to give her the car back?
I said, here's the RAV back. You know, you can have it back. She said, no, keep it. Drive it. That's exactly her words. Keep it.
Now, why did you bring it over there?
Well, actually, I brought it over there to make sure that I wasn't encroaching upon her, to make sure that it was a gift, and if she wanted it back, she could have it back.
So you brought it back to her to see if you were encroaching?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Denton. When did you have the first conversation with regard to the estate settling and some papers that would necessarily have to be exchanged?
I found out that they had started to insure the car on June 17th. Up until that time, I carried full coverage insurance on the car.
Do you have any proof of that?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Put your hand down. Now, this car was a 1996 Toyota?
Yes.
It was insured until the 17th of June, 2004. Not May. It's insured until 17 June, 2004.
Okay.
Full coverage. So you are mistaken that the car was not insured after May. So whoever gave you the information was mistaken.
That would be their mother.
Well, I don't know who it was, but certainly you didn't verify that with her, right?
No, I did not.
Right.
What had happened was, Your Honor, because I had been paying the insurance the whole time, I would give the little cards to my mother, because she lives in the same town they do, to go and give to them, and I had given her the wrong card. And she looked at the date and told them that there must not be insurance on the car because it's expired. They got insurance without my knowledge.
I don't see how they could get insurance. They had no insurable interest in the car.
It was a gift.
You had no insurable interest in the car. That's a matter of law. The car is not in your name. It would be like you deciding that you like the look of Bird's car and saying, I'm going to take out insurance on his car just in case he has an accident. And if he has an accident, I can collect on his car. You have to have an insurable interest in the car. The car was not in your name. And it's not something that is worth family feuding over. Sir, you have to use common sense. If she gave you the car, then the common sense would be, I cannot transfer the title to you in this car until the estate is settled, and that may take several years. But I'm giving you the car. But while I may give you the car, I'm not going to give you the car and pay for your insurance too, because that would be stupid. Put your hand down, troublemaker. Do you understand, sir? I'm ignoring your wife because she is not related to this lady, and you are.
Yes, ma'am.
So she doesn't care if she makes trouble, this one, but you should care if she makes trouble. If your sister was giving you the car as a gift, I would say to my brother, David, I want you to have this car. We can't do the paperwork on it right now. All you have to do is you take care of the maintenance, you take care of the insurance, you take care of all the expenses on the car, and at the appropriate time, I'll just transfer the title over to you. I would not say to him, I'm going to pay for all the expenses, including the insurance on the car.
She didn't pay for all the expenses.
The insurance! No, she's supposed to pay the expenses. I mean, something wrong with you? You look like a perfectly healthy man. Do you work? Are you employed?
Yes, yes, I am.
Then why should she pay for the expenses? You're driving. Listen to me. Listen what you did with your wife. You had the full use of a car for 2.5 years. You had it fixed when it needed to be fixed. You put gas and oil in the car. You did whatever you had to do. Somebody else paid for the insurance. Then, at the 11th hour, because your wife got some misinformation, you insured the car. You had not paid for the car. And you came into a windfall of almost $5,000 for something that wasn't yours. Listen to me, sir. Under your theory, if you had had the car in April, which you did, of 2004, and if you had had an accident and she was paying for the insurance at the time, who would have gotten the insurance money? I'm not asking, put your hand down.
She obviously would have gotten it.
Right. She would have gotten the money. Would you have sued her?
Her insurance would also pay
Ma'am,
for
listen to me.
Ma'am, I wouldn't sue a family member.
Right, because you would have done the right thing. And the right thing is, you don't come away with a windfall of almost $5,000, which is outrageous. Outrageous.
We did have medical expenses after the wreck.
Whose fault is that? Hers?
No, but her insurance would have paid it if she was carrying insurance.
Whose fault is that? Hers? If you had medical insurance, sir, nobody would have had to pay medical insurance for you. You would have had taken care of it with your medical coverage. And if you're a working person, I assume your wife is working. She looks like she's an able-bodied person. You should have medical insurance.
I'm a student.
She's a full-time student.
She's too old to be a full-time student if she has other responsibilities.
I am a full-time student.
Okay. You owe $4,687. Judgment for the plaintiff. No good deed goes unpunished, madam.
Thank you very much.
Why does that excuse me? Step out.
The last 4 months have been a strain, not just financially, but through the family and everything else.
The closeness of my family and the warmth and feeling of a brother and sister relationship.
Just being vindictive.
It was my car. I paid everything on it. They were borrowing the car.
She's being vindictive about a car she gave us.
It doesn't have anything to do with me being vindictive or anything else. I just wanted what was mine to be mine.
I think this whole thing was ridiculous.
The whole thing is upsetting to me.
If she would have just been a little bit more compromising, we would have never been here.
There's nothing else I could do. I'd already loaned them $3,500.
It's usually whatever makes Julie happy when she gets what she wants.
My sister did us a favor 3 years ago, and then 3 years later says, you owe me this.
My husband worked very hard for that vehicle and for everything that we had, and it's not theirs.
I don't have a sister anymore.
I agree with him. I don't have a brother anymore.
Planner Lisa Jefferson Brooks is suing her estranged husband's ex-girlfriend, loan officer Katie Lamphere, for the cost of a paternity test and for loans to keep Katie off the streets.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 401 on the calendar in the matter of Jefferson Brooks versus Lamphere. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Brooks, this is a very strange tale that I'm sure you're going to try to simplify for me. Miss Lamphere is the ex-girlfriend of your ex-husband, and for some strange and bizarre reason, you decided to become friends. She has a couple of children, I believe, one of whom your ex-husband was paying support for as his child. You allege in your complaint that you made a series of loans to your ex-husband's ex-girlfriend, and then you took one child for a paternity test without her permission. And the test established, according to you, that he was not the father of this child. And Miss Lamphere said, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm prepared to reimburse you for the cost of the test. That's what the case is about.
Basically.
Okay. First, when were you divorced?
Actually, my husband and I were still technically married, but in the state that we live in, you have to be separated for a year.
When did you separate?
2 months ago.
And when did you start making this series of loans to Miss Lampier?
At the end of July of this year.
Was he happy about you making loans to Miss Lampier?
I don't know that he was happy about it, but it was a situation where Miss Lampier and her children, she has 3 girls. At the end of May, they were being evicted from where they were living at. They relocated to the state where we were relocating to, which is my hometown. They really didn't have anywhere to go. She had secured a job, and we were keeping my husband's daughter and her sister.
Your husband's daughter is how old?
11.
Okay, so that child was living with you?
For 1 month. We kept them for 1 month.
Okay. Go ahead.
Her sister, who's 8 years old, is a little girl who Miss Lampier had alleged was his daughter. We were not paying support for Ashley. That's her name.
You were paying support for the 11-year-old?
Whatever arrangements he worked out with her, that was between the 2 of them. They had already had this child before we got married.
Which child, the 11-year-old or the 8-year-old, did you take for paternity test?
The 8-year-old.
And how do you take a child for paternity?
That's it.